Hello, Ananda. Um, so you write the striving to have a felt sense of non-duality, of myself not being present, so to speak, seems off-kilter. The striving to have a felt sense of non-duality, of myself not being present, so to speak, seems off-kilter. Uh, any striving really is off-kilter, Ananda. Now, striving and is a different thing from following a passion. If you have sometimes when you have a question that arises it bubbles out of a deeper space, out of consciousness, really. There is no striving in it. Please make sure to mute your mic.
You know what? My neighbor is pounding on the wall.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we can live with that. We can live with that. Okay. So it's really what's off-kilter is activities, whether they're mental activities or worldly activities, that maintain or serve the impression of separation. So activities that arise out of the feeling states or out of the emotions or out of a sense of lack, which is the me sense, a personal desire to better oneself in the world, to sort of improve one's situation in the world, is off kilter when we are not clear about what we are. So to be engaged in worldly activities to improve one's lot in the world, it's is part of the play, as long as you don't mistake yourself to be a character that's lacking. Because whenever you imagine yourself or you believe yourself to be a lacking entity or a separate entity, there is a sense of lack and an unhappiness. But your question was about striving to have a felt sense of non-duality. If you are having a felt sense of non-duality, that's not true non-duality. That is not the real non-dual, let's say, experience. In a non-dual experience, there is no experiencer. It's not that there is an experiencer that's striving to become a no one. The experiencer that's striving to become a no one, it's still at the mind level. It's still at the illusion level that in fact, I am this person and I need to become a non-person. I need to have the non-dual experience of being no one. That's still connected to a me, you see? So the non-dual experience is mostly unnoticed. And the experience of the experience of the non-dual reality of consciousness is peace, is tranquility, is well-being, effortless well-being. You see, it's a sense of openness. That's not as a result of the mind, of thought or striving or efforting. It is just an openness of being, an ease of being, contentment. It's a contentment that is not dependent on anything worldly. So it's actually the freedom, the freedom of the self that is not trying to do anything. It just recognizes, it's a recognition of the quality of consciousness. First, recognition of the reality of consciousness, and that this consciousness is peace. It has no opposite. There isn't an opposing reality to the reality of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your question, the striving to have a felt sense of non-duality, it's still at the me level. It's still at the personal level,
mm-hmm.
or of not being present. Presence is, meaning consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
But the presence of consciousness is not a personal presence.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pure presence.
Mm-hmm.
What is superimposed upon presence is the thought, the belief that this presence is limited to a specific body-mind. Mm-hmm. That is an add-on.
Right. And that's what I'm referring to, to have that subside. You see.
Yes. Well, the add-on,
yes,
subsides in its noticing, in noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it's just presence. There is just presence. There is no efforting to be anything or to do anything. It's this perception is effortlessly arising in the openness of presence. Yes, there is no attempt to do anything, to maneuver anything, or to impress or to defend. It's just an ease of being. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this ease of being, there is you don't even notice that it's a natural state. So the natural, let's say, state of consciousness is openness of being, is transparency, is peace, is tranquility. Yes?
Yes.
And what's added on to that is, oh, I need to have that. Or, gee, I hope that I can maintain that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh my goodness, this is really great. How come I cannot maintain it? Or you see, when you add on a personal impression, that as if there is some body that runs consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
As if there is somebody in me, this negative character, that is sort of managing consciousness.
Yes.
Nailing it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there is no such thing as nailing down consciousness, and there is no other reality but the reality of consciousness. So the effortless quality of consciousness establishes itself by itself as we notice these habitual tendency to personalize what is impersonal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and this attempt to personalize what is universal is an add-on, and it leads to the impression that this is an activity that I, as a person, need to do. And so the mind becomes preoccupied with, oh my goodness, what is it that I need to do in order to maintain this openness of being? Am I succeeding at it? Am I capable of doing it? What will I get out of it? Am I doing better than my neighbor? How come he can do it and I cannot, or she can do it and I cannot, etc. You see, it leads to wasteful mental activity.
Yes.
And it leads to a sense of limitation and despair about my lot in life.
Excuse me, Maggie. I apologize, but somebody is trying to get in my door,
Oh, okay.
and it's locked.
Okay, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I'm talking with Maggie. Sorry about that.
No, that's cool. Okay. So, yeah.
No, I understand this is very important stuff. Very important to be relaxed and let it be. And then there's the idea that I don't want to be a me impression holder.
Well, you know,
Something like that.
you are never a me. You see, consciousness is never, a me. Even if you dream yourself to be a pink flying elephant, you are not a pink flying elephant. Even if you dream that every day, it will never transform you into a pink flying elephant. So the me impression is a habitual impression that arises in the space. It arises in the open space of consciousness. So if you can turn your attention, rather than turning your attention to the me impression, to the contraction, to the sense of lack, turn your attention to the aware space that's eternally present, that is untouched by whatever appears.
Yes.
Always turn your attention to the source. You turn attention to the witness and not to what is appearing. Because if you're trying to save or repair or salvage that me, you are in an endless whirlpool of mental activities and unhappy and in vain. It's all in vain. The true nature is our primary experience. So stay with your primary, with the pre unfolding, previous to the unfolding.
You mean unfolding of relative thought processes and all that? Yeah.
Whatever unfolds, pre-unfolding. It's not about struggling with the unfolding or denying the unfolding, but just noticing there's always a pre-unfolding, the pre-add-on. Before the add-on, there is consciousness. The add-on meaning the add-on of a personal, there is a personal event. All events are impersonal. All events refer to that which knows them. All events refer to consciousness. And consciousness is not personal. It has no boundaries. It has no limits. There are no pickets around it. There are no dividing lines in consciousness. Only at the mind level are there impressions of separation. Like the oak tree is not the elm tree. The orange tree is not the apple tree. The cow is not the rabbit. At the image level, at the perceptual level, there are impressions of differences and separations. But it's not really separations, it's really differences. Like the colors, the different colors. But the substance of all colors is white, is the white color. The white light. Yeah? So there is an invisible substance to all phenomenal events. And that substance is not really a substance, I'm just using this language. It's a substanceless substance, is consciousness. So consciousness is the reality of all appearances. Yes. So in your question, right. I think we addressed your question. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So that's yes.
I was just gonna. Something came up there. You were talking about the tree and the colors, and it's all has one background, and it's all of one substance. And then what came to my mind is my bank account and my ex-wife's bank account are two different things. Seems like two different things, when there's where the ego comes in.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes. But so what? I mean, you could say that my index and my pinky are different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So your wife's bank account, my bank account, your bank account are different things. But they serve the one dream. There is the dreamer is dreaming all these dreams. So when you are dreaming at night, yes, so you dream of somebody who is 6'2" tall, a male that's 6'2" tall, and another person who is 5'4" tall. So you could say, okay, well, this person is 6'2", this person is 5'4". Yes, but they both are rising in the one. They're both one in the dream. In the dream, the dreamer. All the dreams, the substance of all the dreams is the dreamer. But it is fun to have. It is fun to have the male, the female, to have his bank account and her bank account, and it's fun because she can buy you a gift, you know, from her bank account, and it does not deplete your bank account. You see, and it's very beautiful. And then when you have an occasion, you buy her a gift from your bank account, and she will be happy to, you know, for the beautiful gesture that you are making for her. That's beautiful. You see, the problem is not with bank accounts. The problem is with this me that feels that it should be otherwise, that I need to have a larger bank account, for example. Yes. Why? I mean, that's unhappy. Now, of course, you could strive to have a larger bank account out of a sense of play and freedom and celebration and joy. And I have one of my brothers, he loves to work. He's quite aged, but he loves to work. He loves it. And it's beautiful. He loves to work, to make money and to have his bank account. And he's happy. So if you want to work for your bank account, you know, out of your sense of freedom and play, yes, that's beautiful. But if you feel that I need to work with my bank account, and there is a thorn of anxiety and unhappiness, then that should call your attention to inquire and to contemplate.
So presumably, even if things are difficult and money gets short, it's all in the same realm.
Well, money is never short. Money is just exactly what it is. When it's time for you to downgrade, you downgrade. When it's time for you to upgrade and you can upgrade, you upgrade. There is no short. That's an add-on. Now, you might like to buy a new car, for example, that so you work to raise some funds for that purchase. Yes. And so it is, if the car costs $15,000 and you have $13,000, you are short by $2,000. So in that case, it's very specific. Yes, you are short. So you'll work a little more, and you will save a little more, and at some point you have $15,000 and the car costs $15,000. There is nothing short. Then it's, you know, you have the car and they have the money, you see? You see? But let's say you have $13,000 and the car costs $15,000 and you don't want to raise another $2,000. And you still want the car that is $15,000, then you say, you know, There is something short.
Yeah, I see. It's the psychological.
I don't know what you have to do. Yeah?
It's a totally a psychological element here.
So this is perceiving that some things are short, some things are wrong, and some things are off is not a full recognition. There is some holding back.
Yes, yeah,
And
yes. I can see at the moment, I can see it doesn't add a thing. The
yeah,
sense of anxiety over any of this doesn't add one
yes.
element
So
of positive.
right. So in the world, you apply the right, the right discrimination to navigate the world of money and work and all of that. But what is more crucial is that you realize your freedom and you live out of your freedom and you grant the freedom to everybody else in your life, in your space. And so it's a celebration of freedom, and which brings in the joy, the happiness, the laughter, the humor, the sense of play, and doesn't maintain some impression of conflict, you see.
Nice. There's a lot to digest from this conversation. Thank you. And the main thing that I heard, though, is just somehow it got through to me that about the consciousness, which is pre everything else, is always here. It's
Yes.
not pre there. It's it's right here, even though it's pre this mentation and concern and all. And I can get that. Yeah.
Yes. Of course, consciousness is not in time. So in pointing that consciousness is pre-mind, is before the mind, it's just a pointer, yeah? It's a pointer. The reality of consciousness is beyond time. So it's even not even, there isn't even a pre and post.
Right.
But it's helpful to, in terms of not to get caught up in the interpretations of the mind, to notice that which is unmoved and untouched, unstirred by whatever images move, whatever thoughts or sensations or world events arise. There is an unmoved and unstirred and untouched reality, which is the reality of consciousness. That's our primary experience. So turn your attention to that primary experience, the core reality of all what unfolds. That reality does not unfold. That reality does not unfold. Yes?
Thank you.
Okay, Ananda. Nice to talk with you. Thank you for your question. Hello, David. You write, hi, Magdi, you often mention one cannot serve two masters. Yes, the worldly pursuits versus the contemplation of the self. Could you talk about that? Yes, David. In the world, with the family, with work, with friends and your partner and companions, the most beautiful way to live that is to bring the contemplation into those situations, to bring your contemplation of consciousness into your family relationships, into your workplace, into your life. Now, in terms of not serving two masters, there is only one reality. We know deep down that there is just one reality. And we confuse this reality. We are confused, we are mistaken about the reality when we imagine the reality to belong to the trees, to the world, to body, or to the mentation, to thoughts. And in attributing a reality to the world, body, mind, we are switching the reality of consciousness, which is that which knows, that which perceives all perceptions, that which right now hears these words. We shift the reality of consciousness, consciousness being that via which anything is known. And we attribute it to the world. So therefore we become mesmerized and we become fascinated, or we become, I would say, maybe preoccupied is the better way of putting it, with trying to have a good world body mind experience. Mm-hmm. So we our thoughts and our concerns and our interests become worldly, how to improve our lot in the world. And in doing so, the main thorn, the main flaw, is that when we attribute the reality to the world, body, mind, we attribute a reality to separate me. Like there is an impression that I am also a phenomenal event. I am also a body mind, an object that is born and that is subject to conditions, to phenomenal conditions, such as the tree is subject to phenomenal conditions, needing water, needing sunlight, and needing nutrients from the earth. We attribute the same qualities, phenomenal qualities, to I, to myself. And we all know that all phenomenal events are bound to change, to decay, to alter. And therefore, we have the impression that I am aging and I am going to die. We take on the phenomenal qualities of the body as being qualities that apply to myself. And that creates an unhappiness and a fear and an angst about the mortality of the body being assumed to be my mortality. Mm. So it is in contemplating the world, body, mind, meaning in contemplating thought or perception, because the world, we know the world through our senses. And we know the body through sensations. Right? Yes. In contemplating our thoughts, sensations, or perceptions, we notice that they are constantly changing, but there is a changeless quality to their changing, which is the changeless quality of consciousness. In our contemplation, we notice that there is a presence or an awareness that perceives whatever arises, but is untouched by what it perceives. And that quality, which we refer to as awareness or consciousness, never comes and goes. The images, the thoughts, the bodily sensations are constantly changing. But there is the changelessness does not belong to the world, body, mind. It belongs to consciousness. And we also, in our contemplation, we can come to the understanding that the consciousness that is changeless and that perceived all perceptions and knows all phenomenal events is myself, is I. I perceive, I perceive a thought, perceive a sensation, whatever appears, it's I that is this consciousness. So I am this consciousness. And so then we wonder, where does a reality lie? There is obviously a reality, whatever this reality is. Where does it lie? Does it lie in the thoughts, the perceptions, or the bodily sensations that are constantly changing and even dissolving in deep sleep? Or does the reality lie beyond that to the changeless quality of awareness and consciousness? We come to an understanding that the reality of our experience belongs to consciousness and not to the worldly events. And in terms of serving two masters, once we recognize that what is real is consciousness, then the world, body, mind comes more to its proper place. It ceases to be the sole subject of our attention. Yes. Our attention shifts from solely being looking out at the world, body, mind, and it incorporates our understanding that I am consciousness and that this consciousness is ever present. The world, body, mind does not get a big X on it. No, it remains temporarily. It remains, but it ceases to be the condition for our happiness. It becomes an arena for our play, like a playground, you see. This becomes our playground. Because once you know yourself, you also know your inherent freedom. Because consciousness that perceives or perception does not depend on the weather, does not depend on the world situation. The body-mind depends on the world situation, but consciousness does not depend on worldly situations. The contemplation deepens. There is a deepening of the contemplation that eventually brings you to the full revelation of your freedom.
The email I sent you has to
Yes.
with this preoccupation with the world, body, mind. I mentioned this verse from the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
That the restless mind runs away, take it into your hands and bring it back to the self alone.
Yes.
Sometimes there are periods where the world, body, mind, as you name it, is just a part of my experience. I can see it. Okay, it's happening. And sometimes there is preoccupation, but it's short-lived.
Yes.
And my question was, is it a good way to practice if you feel that you are pulled to this preoccupation to pay attention to the breath or the gaps between thoughts, to remind yourself that the world, body, mind is but an aspect of your entire experience? Because there are periods where I'm quite restful and I don't grasp things as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I can really experience that, like you say, everything is added on to experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
When I'm just sitting there or whatever, if I'm driving my car and it's sensations are coming and going, there is this ever-present underlying stillness.
Yes.
But then there are months where the preoccupation is so strong that the stillness is just a concept.
Yes.
It's something I remember. So then I get back to noticing the breath, perhaps to calm the body mind.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is what Michael was pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't feel it, but being calm, being not having strong emotions or desires in the mind feels closer to home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's helpful, for you to sort of turn your attention to the breath, and then it quiets the mind, and you're able to come back to presence.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. But just be careful of habitual patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You want to use the cane to get, to heal maybe a slight bruise you have, but then you have to let go of the cane, yeah?
Yes.
Now, of course, the cane will drop off itself when the time comes. You will find yourself just effortlessly returning to presence. But for the time being, now that you are using this tool, the breath or whatever else you are using, just be aware of any pattern that becomes repetitive, leaves a certain groove, creates a pattern. You can also be completely transparent to whatever agitation may be appearing. So transparent to it, but in your complete surrender to it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Without interest in changing or altering anything. So in a way, even to be so still, maybe even silent, in the midst in the midst of this turbulence.
I probably know what you mean. I experienced this morning. The mind was very troubled, but somehow it was like, okay, I'm not going to try to force it not to be troubled.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also you may notice, which is really very beautiful, that there may be all sorts of seeming trouble at the mind level, and that there is an untouched stillness,
yes,
untouched peace. But this untouched peace and untouched stillness is not an experience. It's not trying to experience peace. It's not trying to still the mind. It is not an experience. It's beyond whatever the mind is doing. It's untouched by the mind. The mind cannot even grasp it, conceive it, perceive it, but at some deeper level, you know it.
yeah.
It may be at the physiological level, like a certain maybe hum or subtle vibration, or it may not. It may be just a stillness that knows itself and knows that it's untouched by what's happening at the mind level.
Yes.
You see, what maintains the mind is our struggle with it, our concerns about it, our wanting it to be in a certain way. But the revelation of the self, consciousness, is not at the experience level. It's beyond that. I use the word sometimes experience of consciousness, but I use it in a specific way that is not at the mind level. It's a non-experience. So the mind cannot experience that. It's beyond the mind. And the mind is maintained with the management business, trying to fix it, you see.
Mm.
But when you go to the stillness, when you go to your complete absence, then you realize the untouched quality of what you are, what you truly are, is untouched. And the whole structure dissolves. It's a more direct path than to use certain effective techniques to move away from the seemingly conflicted mind. It's being completely free of what's happening at the mind level. Like there might be a huge storm right now in Kathmandu, and you're completely free of it. In that way, it's like, okay, yeah. The self is complete freedom, but it's not a freedom that depends on a certain mind experience. So you can go straight to the freedom of the self, that I am, consciousness, that awareness that I am. and be willing for the body-mind to experience whatever it's experiencing. There are really no experiences. Even at the body-mind level, it seems to be an experience, but there are no experiences.
There are no experiences?
If you are on a roller coaster and you feel that you are flying, you're really not flying. If you are dreaming in your night sleep that you're jumping off a diving board, and you're really not jumping off a diving board. You may say the waking state is different. I am actually jumping off a diving board. No, you're not. You may say, well, the body is jumping off the diving board. Okay, that's good for conversation. But you're not the body, you see. The body appears to you. But how does it appear to you? You have to contemplate that. You contemplate how does David appear to me? What is it that it appears to? What is it that appears? Or you can ask yourself right now, why delay it? What's appearing right now? What's appearing right now?
Sounds, images, touch, thoughts.
Where is it? What is it? Where is the sound? Where is it now? Where is the sound? Where is it? What is it? You can't find it.
Wow. Okay. That got me totally blank.
Yes, it gets the mind blank, but you
Yes.
you are not the blank mind. You see, you are not the blank mind, you are not the mind.
And here I was hoping to get some clarity. Okay, but
the clarity
yes.
of the mind comes from knowing yourself.
This is going to haunt me for a month. Where is the sound? Or longer.
In a way, scientists are asking themselves this question: where is matter? What they ask them. They ask it in a different way, but it's the same question. What is the reality of an atom? But coming back to getting clarity, clarity belongs to consciousness, and the mind comes to clarity and comes to tranquility once the confusion about what I am returns, once there is a recognition of the reality. It's like the prodigal son finds peace and clarity once he returns home. He wanders in the world looking for happiness, but he finds his happiness when he returns home. It's, of course, the metaphor of the prodigal son, home being oneself, one's true self, our true nature. So you can say, okay, I'm perceiving perceptions, sensations, and thoughts. But when you try to get a hold of any perceptions, of any sensations, of any thought, it's gone. It's gone. And you say, well, here's the next one, but even when you come to the next one, it's gone. You see. But what is it that does not go? That does not come and go? You see? You see? So it's attribute. You're talking about serving two masters.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that's eternal? What is it that doesn't appear or disappear like the weather, or like a thought, or like a bodily sensation? You see, obviously, there is a reality to presence. There is a reality to this, whatever the reality is to this experience. Let's call it an experience for now.
Okay.
The reality of this experience, what is it? Obviously, it's not nothing. Even if you are dreaming this perception right now, yes?
Yeah.
So this perception is your dream. Let's say it's your dream, yes?
Okay.
Although this perception may be your dream, this does not mean that you, that is dreaming this dream, is not real. There is a reality even to the dream, even to a dream, there is a reality that lies beyond the dream, but still there is a reality. So what is the reality of this experience right now? Even if it's a dream, assuming it's a dream.
The fact that it is perceived.
Yes, it is the I. The reality is the I. I know I am. I know I am aware. Yes?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that I'm aware of this perception, or I'm aware of the oak tree, or of this car driving down the highway. Because the car driving down the highway might be my dream. But I know I'm aware. You see, I don't know that I'm aware because I'm perceiving an oak tree. I know that I'm aware, period. Irrespective of the oak tree. I know I am aware. I know I am, and I know that I am aware. Yes?
Okay.
You sound resigned by saying, okay, don't say okay, don't say okay on my behalf.
No. I was bracing myself. I knew this was coming.
Well,
you were one step ahead of me, because I was going to ask you, so to be aware of the I, to know I am, you have to be opposite something.
no. That is one of the knowledge that has no opposite. Consciousness knows itself without opposite. You see, you know the oak tree as opposed to the palm tree. So you know that's an oak as opposed, it's not a palm tree. Yeah, it's at the mind level, and we make a distinction between the oak tree and the palm tree. But you don't know that you're aware as opposed to not being aware. You know you're aware, period. In other words, when you ask yourself, am I aware? You don't think. You don't think, oh, wait a minute, let me see. I am not aware, therefore I am aware, you see. You don't go to the opposite of awareness in order to know that you're aware. You don't think. When you ask yourself, am I aware? Immediately, in a note, there is no time there. Yeah, I'm aware.
And then the mind tries to figure out why you know this. Yeah.
Well, right. The mind tries to figure out, but because we are here in a form of contemplation, so there is the hint that's being shared that knowing, awareness knowing itself, meaning awareness knowing that it's aware, I knowing that I'm aware, is not a mind experience. There is no mind in this knowingness. So it's a hint being shared, and that's again for you to contemplate it in your spare time or whenever, to find out if indeed that is your experience, because it's not about believing what somebody else is saying or somebody else is sharing. It's you have to sort of run your own experiment, do your own contemplation, and ask yourself, do I know that I am aware directly without going to the mind, or do I go to the mind? I go to thought to find out whether I'm aware or not. You can ask yourself that question.
I'm writing this down.
Yes. Awareness knows itself directly, beyond the mind. Let's say without the mind. I know I am, meaning the experience of presence, and I know I'm aware. Those two fundamentals. I know I am, meaning presence, and I know I am aware, are beyond the mind. These are consciousness knowing itself directly. Now, I know an oak tree, or I know a palm tree, or I know this is a male body. Now that goes via the mind.
Yes.
See, I know I'm a father, I know I'm a mother, or I'm a son or a daughter, I know I'm born in 1970, whatever. That, yes, you go to the mind. Sometimes you even, if you have amnesia, you might have to go to your passport, or to your,
Wow,
Yeah,
this is exactly what I needed to hear.
You're still young, David. You still have a way to go. But so that's so the sat, meaning knowing presence, that I am present, and the sat chit ananda, the chit, meaning I know I'm aware, are consciousness knowing, expressing its presence and its awareness. That is aware, meaning it's the aware presence, a knowing presence. So I am this aware presence. So the Satchit, and then Ananda is the bliss.
There's a lot of echo. I think it's, David, if you turn your volume down a little bit, I think there's a feedback happening at your plate, at you, I guess.
Okay, is this better?
Is there still an echo?
That's better.
Better?
Oh,
I don't
okay.
hear you.
Good.
Great.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to work with this. The things I know beyond, without the mind, and the things I know with the mind. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly this.
Yes. Consciousness knows itself. That is a very important understanding. That consciousness knows the world, and the world depends on consciousness. It is via consciousness that the world is known, appears and is known. But consciousness knows itself independent of the world, body, mind. You know yourself independent of the world, body, mind. you know you are this aware presence, independent of the world, body, mind. In ignorance, there is the belief that I know myself, but I need the body. I need the body in order to know myself. No. You only need the body to know the body. But you don't need the body to know yourself. Except if you mistake yourself to be the body, then you are serving two masters. Well, you're serving the wrong master. You're serving the body. You imagine yourself to be the body, and therefore you believe and you feel that I can only know myself as long as this body is alive. And once this body is alive, God only knows what I will be.
Yeah. So what I seem to be getting from the Bhagavad Gita is the thing that the practice is to make the mind abide in the self, so not to be preoccupied with the world, body, mind. Is this the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, not to be preoccupied with the world, body, mind. Trust the world, body, mind to the universe. Allow the world, body, mind to be governed and to be driven by whoever created it, whatever created it. There is enough intelligence in the universe to take care of the world, body, mind. After all, it's taking care of the galactic field, and it's taking care of the weather, and it's taking care of gravity and all of that.
So it's a bit like the dream is taking care of itself.
Yes. And when it knocks on your door and tells you, okay, you need to pay this, pay the insurance, then you write the check and you make it.
They won't forget.
It knocks on your door and tells you it's time to cook dinner. You cook dinner. It's time to spend some time with your children and play with them or whatever, or be a friend to them. Then you do that. But when it knocks on your door and tells you get scared or something's going to happen to you or you're not doing a good job, and that's when you are confusing yourself to be a body mind. You're confusing yourself to be a personal consciousness that is failing or succeeding. There is no failure and success for consciousness.
Okay.
It's only peace, love, beauty, and happiness. Okay, David.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking with you. Thank you, David. Ananda, when identified with the body-mind, we seem to rely on it to have satsang and see the reality. I'm not hearing you. Is your sound off?
Mm.
Oh.
That was just a comment, but if you have something to say, that's fine.
Yes. You know, the body-mind is it's fun. It's a temporary playground.
Mm.
It's a temporary tool for play. But yes, you're bringing an important point, which is that the body-mind can be used as a tool for contemplation, as a tool. Using it in the right way. Using the body-mind in the right way is to use the resources that are available to the body-mind to contemplate truth, to explore, to go deeper into your inquiry, into your questioning. And yes, to squander the body-mind would be to be simply using the body-mind as a tool in the world affairs without contemplation. Now, At some point in your exploration, you will find that effortlessly the world body mind is in celebration, is in the has dissolved in the self. So the has returned to the source and is no longer leaving the source. There is a recognition that it's all is consciousness, that there is only one reality, and it is the reality of consciousness. At that point, it's a different affair. There is really, it's the end of activity.
Whereas you've said a lot, but now I'm getting to get the sense of what you mean when you say then it's a sweet dream.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Then it's a sweet dream.
Yes.
It's not any big deal. It's just that you don't need to generate stresses.
The dream becomes a sweet dream, but it's so much more than that. There is the sweet dream is secondary to consciousness knowing itself. So it's like there is Ananda,
yes,
and there is a sweet dream, but the sweet dream is secondary.
Wonderful.
Okay, Ananda. There was a question that was sent to me. If I'd like to go over that now. So I'm going to read it. Dear Magdi, my master often speaks about the snake leaving the house. Its body is already out in the garden, but its tail is still in the house. This means vigilance. The metaphor stands for self-realization being here, and yet some old vasanas or ego habits are still present. All is observed and time only exists on the level of mind. Old body-mind patterns only bother the one who is identified as a body-mind. Would you kindly speak about inquiry action in relationship to patience, trust, when it comes to allowing the entire snake to exit? That was a Shivaram. There is a revelation that we arrive to in our contemplation of truth, which is that I am not a body-mind, I am consciousness. And the old impression that I am a body-mind is cracked, it can no longer maintain itself. It no longer stands. And that is really the beginning of the journey, the beginning of the path. It's an insight into truth, an insight into reality, an experiential insight into the reality and universality of consciousness. That reality does not belong to the body-mind. Reality belongs to consciousness. But that is not the end of the journey. That is, in a way, the beginning of the journey. There is a further revelation, maybe numerous following insights that culminate in the revelation that consciousness is universal, and that everything and everyone, all what appears, is consciousness, and everything refers to the primacy of consciousness. And it's as if the world body mind dissolves in let's say your knowingness, the world body mind dissolves in consciousness, and all world body minds, all the entire sphere, the entire realm, the entire phenomenal realm dissolves in consciousness. So there is just the experience of the self. It's a form of, it's a dissolution, it's a dissolving it's a return to the source, a complete return to the source. And there is no longer a leaving that leaving the source, leaving the self, which is referred to as the Sahaja Samadhi. Now, in terms of vasanas, the revelation of the self has two aspects to it. There is the understanding, which of course follows the glimpse into consciousness, the understanding that I am consciousness and that consciousness is universal. But what remains is the sense of self, the sense of the me sense that embodies, that's hidden in the body. And this sense of me, the sense of ignorance that still resides, residues of ignorance that reside in the body, will be triggered at various occasions by various situations. And it is those triggers, those life triggers, life events that sort of dislodge the barnacles, the vasanas that remain at the feeling level, at the body level, and allow them to rise to the surface. And if handled properly, they release out of the impression. They release into the space, dissolve into the space. Now, there are layers, vasanic layers, as if structures, more important structures of vasanas, let's say grosser layers of vasanas, that release first. And once these are released, there are more subtle remnants of ignorance, of reactions, of reactivities, habits that will follow. Now, this doesn't necessarily occur in that order. It might be a back and forth, depending on what has been the specific conditions of this body-mind. In some cases, there might not be that much that has been stored in the space, in the system, in the body-mind. And in some other cases, there are more traumatic conditions. But irrespective of the particular situation, life will present opportunities for these vasanas to release. What matters when a certain condition, old habit arises is to figure a way not to turn it into an issue, to allow it to release, remaining in your knowingness that I am this aware presence, untouched and unaffected by whatever is unfolding. In other words, not to try to fix the body-mind situation. Remain as the transparency of presence, the transparency of consciousness. These vasanas will go on diminishing in their frequency and in their intensity as life is dislodging them out of your feeling states, and you are remaining as consciousness and allowing them to dissolve in the space. And at some point, you may notice, maybe after the fact, that there is not much happening in terms of being triggered. Vasanas will have made their way out of your experience. And you will find yourself in the peace and celebration of your true nature. I would like to share that there are certain practices post-awakening, post-enlightenment practices that are directed or a focus on working with the vasanas at the feeling state. They cannot be shared online, or they cannot be shared in a video. They require your presence with a guide that uses these methods and can guide you that way. Just focusing on your question about patience and trust in allowing the entire snake to exit. You know, patience and trust come with your love for truth. Because you love truth, you have a passion for the entire revelation of the self. Then there is an openness that comes with your love. And yeah, of course, a patience, but it gets beyond patience. It gets beyond patience. You leave patience behind. It's love. And trust. The trust is always trusting consciousness. At some point, you recognize consciousness. You recognize its flavor, its perfume, its quality. And it's that recognition that you can trust. You can trust the perfume of consciousness. You can recognize that. It opens your heart. It gives you a taste of peace. And it resonates with you. It stays with you. It comes back to you. Be in your contemplation with whoever whatever friend you're working with. Do not settle until you are completely certain until you know for a fact for yourself that you are no longer moved by any phenomenal event, by any thought, any sensation, any perception. Go all the way. Okay, well, thank you very much for your company. Very, very lovely to be with you. And we'll see you again soon enough. Be well.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.